Parker's looking for you.
Grab your gear, McGee. We got work to do.
From being on the show for almost 2 decades to his sudden exit, Mark Harmon was the one guy who defined NCIS. But is he preparing to return to the show? According to Rocky Carroll, it will happen at some point. That's Leon Vance from the show. Now, NCIS fans were pretty upset when Leroy Gibbs left the show in 2021. After almost 20 years on the air, people are always asking if he'll ever come back. And according to his co-star Rocky Carroll, it's a definite possibility. Rocky recently did an interview with TV Insider and talked about how the show is celebrating its 20th anniversary. When asked if Mark might return for a special episode, he said that we just might see Gibbs again. In fact, as long as the show's still on, there's always a chance that he will return. Rocky also described Gibbs as the moral compass of the show, and how everyone wishes they had someone like him in their lives.
Hell, Leon, what'd you do? Coyle was hell-bent on stringing me up. Why am I not in prison?
I was wondering the same thing. So I paid Coyle a visit. Met his wife and their 2 rescue dogs.
Not just that, Harmon is a pretty big part of the show, and by that, I mean the whole show. But it's not just his character, it's also just how much influence he had behind the scenes of the show. The actor did answer some of the questions about his departure though. He talked about it in a special featurette on the season 19 DVD release. When Harmon first left NCIS, he didn't talk about the reasons behind his decision, but almost a year later, he's broken his silence. The 70-year-old actor opened up about his character's legacy and what he thought of how the show ended Gibbs' storyline. Harmon talked about what kept him coming back to NCIS every season. It was the chance to tackle new and challenging material as an actor. He suggested that after almost 20 years on the show, he may have felt like that wasn't happening as much anymore. He admitted that what drew him to do this for so long was his character and how challenging it was. He also clarified that he didn't believe his character, Gibbs, was retired. Gibbs is just living in Alaska as far as he knows.
Do I have nares, Jimmy?
All mammals have nares, sir. Openings in your nose.
Give that to Abby. Have her ID it.
Yes, sir.
Finally, he shared that he was satisfied with how things were handled in terms of the plot and storyline of his character. He thought it was honest and that he was fine with it. But it's not just Harmon himself and his friend Carol who are speculating on the return. Showrunner Steve Binder hinted at it too. In fact, he released a proper statement after the actor's departure from the series, and it heavily suggested that the character and the actor have a good chance of coming back to the show. Despite no longer appearing on NCIS, Mark Harmon has stayed involved with the show as an executive producer. He hasn't retired from acting altogether either, but after playing Gibbs for so long, he wanted to explore different opportunities. The show's writers have intentionally left the door open for his return by not giving specifics about Gibbs' whereabouts. So it's always possible that we may see Harmon back on the show at some point in the future, but it's not like he simply disappeared from the show. The writers wrote his character out quite cleverly, actually.
Gibbs, come to finish the job?
Where is he? Dead? Or will be?
And now we're never gonna find out who was paying him.
He's not gonna die. How do you know that? You pick up a medical degree on your way here?
Wasn't a kill shot.
And it wasn't your call to make.
Gibbs' departure was put in motion in season 18. Yep, that's right. The team has been planning this for a while. Gibbs' departure from NCIS in season 19 was part of a plan that started during season 18. Harmon asked for his character to be written out, so the writers started developing storylines to facilitate his exit. But instead of killing off Gibbs or making him retire to work on his boat, which would have been tragic, the writers decided to have him end his run on the show in Alaska after solving his final case. Gibbs sent Agent McGee back to Washington, D.C. alone, saying he had found peace and that he was content staying in Alaska. Even when Gibbs prepared to leave for Alaska with McGee, he was quite emotional, and his team repeatedly checks in on him. Before leaving, he said heartfelt goodbyes to Leon, Ducky, and Torres. After solving the Sonova case, McGee was ready to head back to Washington, D.C., but Gibbs Gibbs had other plans and chose to stay in Alaska, and the fans were not cool with it. Now, NCIS is the kind of show that has legions and legions of fans. Fiercely loyal, too. It's clear that Gibbs' departure from NCIS left a lasting impression on fans of the show. Many were moved to tears by his emotional final scene and took to social media to talk about it. One fan shared how unprepared they were for the ending. Another admitted that they rarely get emotional over TV characters, but Gibbs' departure broke them. While another one talked about the way the character's story was wrapped up, describing it as a beautiful ending. Fans of NCIS were definitely emotional when Leroy Jethro Gibbs made his final exit. Gibbs had been a beloved character for almost 2 decades, so it was a tough moment for many viewers. This seems to have caught up with the ratings too. The latest season of the show seems to have the lowest ratings in a while, so it seems even more plausible that Harmon will come back. But is he going to be back for the 20th season? To be honest, that is unlikely. It looks like fans of NCIS may have to wait a while longer. While the door remains open for Harmon to make a guest appearance, the likelihood of him returning as a series regular seems slim. But fans can look forward to the 500th episode of the show, which could potentially bring him back. With 437 episodes already aired, it's possible that the 500th episode will air during the show's 22nd season. Viewership for the show has declined during the 20th season, so teasing Harmon's return could be a surefire way to bring fans back. While we'll have to wait and see what CBS has planned. But there's no doubt that they'll make the 500th episode an incredible milestone for the show's loyal viewers. The final heartbreak for the fans came when Harmon was removed from the show's credits. He made his exit in the 4th episode of season 19, and even though he was gone, they still included him in the opening credits for the show. But that's not the case for the show's latest season. Sean Murray, who plays Tim McGee, is now leading the opener instead of Harmon's Leroy Jethro Gibbs. The new credits for NCIS season 20 feature a whole bunch of other actors, including Wilmer Valderrama, Katrina Law, Rocky Carroll, and Gary Cole. Sadly, Gibbs isn't anywhere to be found, but it does make sense if you think about it. Since Gibbs passed the torch to McGee in season 19, it's fitting that he's the one leading the credits now. So even though we won't be seeing Harmon in the opening credits anymore, we can definitely look forward to more of McGee's character development in the future. And Mark Harmon had one hell of a run on the show. Harmon was also one of the highest paid TV actors when he was on the show. Being the lead actor on one of the most popular TV shows around, Harmon raked in a whole lot of dough for his work on the hit series. In fact, back in 2018, it was reported that he was one of the highest paid actors on TV, making a jaw-dropping $19 million for each season of the show. Other sources say that he was picking $500,000 per episode when he left the show. That's still a cool $12 million per season, and that was a look at whether Harmon will ever return to NCIS.